Hi guys, it's Amy, and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for clicking on my video this morning, or any of my videos on my playlists. I've got a couple different playlists you can go and check out. I just appreciate your time coming to see what I've been working on, seeing what I want to chit chat with my friends about my crochet. So this video is about Facets yarn. I know that some of you are familiar with Facets yarn by Loops and Threads. Here is another look at the label here. These are each 100-gram cakes or skeins or balls of yarn, and a suggested 6mm hook with that. This is a 4-weight yarn, but it is roving, so sometimes it gets skinny and sometimes it gets fat. Some people do not like that kind of yarn, and I don't blame you. It doesn't frog real nicely. It likes to get all these little fibers stuck together, and then when you go to frog it, there's quite a bit of like tearing, and you're like, ah, don't do that. So I recently ordered a box of different yarns and yarn supplies and things on eBay, and I got a bunch of this Facets yarn. So you have already seen me work with this colorway, and this hat is called a Lavender Kisses by Moogly. So I've got a video for that, and I'll go ahead and link that down in the description below. And this colorway is called Lollipop. So yeah, so like I say, I've got a video where I've got a bunch of projects finished up in this colorway, so you can see the differences. You know, slouchies come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, so I tried to work on some, like this Lavender Kisses I had done before in a different colorway, so I kind of revisited that one. And then this one's just straight up double crochets all the way around. So I found this hat that I really liked, but not without trial and error. So the first one that I did for this grouping is this little hat here. And it's supposed to be an adult sized hat. So I'm not going to share with you where I got the pattern, because I really like this person, this YouTube channel, and this just didn't work out. So the video that is provided is with a different weight yarn, but then they also say you can use Caron Simply Soft, and here's this you know, changed up pattern a little bit to work with the thinner yarn that Caron Simply Soft is. And so I thought that I would find that yarn and try to work that pattern, not find that yarn, but that my yarn was similar to that, so that I would try to find that pattern and work that instead. And that didn't work out. It was like, I don't know if some of you have ever clicked on, you know, blogs where they say that the pattern is going to be available, and you start running down a rabbit hole. So, so anyway, so I'm not going to tell you where I found this pattern, because it did not work. It was definitely a fail, but only in the event that you think about that it was for an adult. I started this hat thinking I was making an adult size hat, and I will put in a picture here of my granddaughter wearing it. She's 4 years old. So I really enjoy the way that the color plays out, but it's hard for me to kind of gauge this as an adult color. I mean, I'm sure many of you would enjoy this very much. It reminds me of Easter. I love the colors, but anytime I'm working with it, I just feel like it's for little kiddos. So this is not where I started. Where I started was this pattern here, but this was just too funny to not open up with. So I actually started this project before I started the pillow that I showed you guys last week, which was an overwhelming success. You guys poured your love out for that pillow, and I appreciate it very much. I love it when you guys feel like the same way as I do. You know, if you feel differently than I do, it makes me think about it a little bit. But in this case, I really love the pillow, and so did you. So thank you for that. But anyway, I started this project before I did the pillow, and then I held on to it so I could share these other aspects of this yarn. So this is called the Swoop Shawl by Fiber Spider. So it's another kind of asymmetrical, and I don't think I need to back up too much for it. So many of the little shawls and stuff that I work with are in the fingering or in the sport weights. So this being a worsted weight 4, you know, a 4-weight, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but I really like it. And as you can see, it, you know, definitely fits around. Like, again, I'm not sure exactly how you would wear the, you know, everybody might wear it a little bit differently, whether you do it on the shoulder, whether you do it just in the front. But yeah, I didn't mind this too much. It was an increase on one side and a decrease on the other side. So I went out there with my, I've got a red one, a red stitch marker that has like a stop. That's my decrease side. And then I put a green one on my increase side with a plus. So I know that I'm growing that side and stopping that side. You know, whatever works for you, right? So I don't know. You know, when I think about children wearing scarves, it's always that don't tie something around your neck idea, but little shawls like this, I mean, I'm sure that this would sit right over the back shoulders of a little girl very nicely going to church on Sunday, Easter morning or whatever, just being out with a searching for the eggs out in the chilly, you know, morning air or whatnot. So I don't know. I just thought that was really a cute sweater. I mean, a cute little shawl that he was making, and I wanted to try to make that. So that's where we started out. And out of 3 hanks of yarn or 3 balls of skeins of yarn, I've got this little bit left. So I got quite a few projects out of it. So after the small hat that fit my granddaughter that was supposed to be an adult hat, I decided to start another one. And this one was with a 5mm hook. So I should have known better because the yarn itself, again, calls for a 6mm hook. And so I thought, you know what? I frogged out the one that was, I could tell it was already going to be way too small again. So I frogged that out. And there's where my frogging advice comes in, to not do that if you don't have to. And then I used the J hook, and this hat is huge. So I'll show you the pictures here of me wearing it, but it just sort of sits. And I even decreased. You end up with 84 stitches around here, you know, and that was even huge. So I decreased, I did another round of decreasing like every third. I did 2 together. So it came down a bunch, but it's still just huge. And that's doing the J hook the way the pattern is written. The pattern that I skipped over saying is called the Spring Crochet Hat by Kim Guzman. So this colorway is called Cotton Candy. I don't think I said that yet. And, you know, there's a lot of colors of cotton candy. I don't know that I've had all these colors of cotton candy, but the wispiness of the yarn, you can kind of see it's got that kind of halo. So that can be considered cotton candy for sure. So then this, I went down to, this is the hat that fits. And I went down to a 5.5mm and eye hook for this one. And I did it as the pattern calls for. And I don't believe I decreased on this one. No, I did not decrease on this one. And I really prefer the way that it fits over the larger one, obviously. But, you know, sometimes, so working in the round gives you a perfect stripe when you have a color changing yarn. But like in this case where the color is changing, you can see like I'm working on the yellow and then I go to the next row. You know, this was my join spot. So then I go to the next row and then the yellow is offset. So I don't like that about hats that have a color change in it when you're not working in the round. So I looked at trying to do this one in the round a little bit, and it's really kind of hard to get from, you know, you start with single crochets or whatever to try to work in the round with a double crochet. I don't know. I started messing with it and thought I didn't feel like messing with it too much at that point, but you could go back to that idea if you want to. But I always come to that like, oh, it's wonderfully, this is a great pattern where you wouldn't see the seam if you were working in all one color, or if it was like a speckled, or, you know, you wouldn't specifically see the stripe jump like that. So play with different color yarns, I guess, to be able to do this without seeing that step up when you're changing rows. But again, you know, otherwise it's a great pattern to not see your seam. So often you can see that slip stitch. You don't see that when you're working with this. And this is just 2 clusters, and I liked it very much. So your increases come along. You can see one right here. You do your increases, and then they change the spot where your increase is so that it kind of changes the swirl a little bit or something. I don't know. So I liked the way that one fits so well. I made another one in this color. This is Flame, and you can see all the reds and the oranges that play out here. So this one you couldn't see. Let me find my seam spot if I can. This one blended a little bit better. Am I here? Am I here? Where am I? Right here. So you can see that the orange is running through here. Whoops. And then I went from this row up to this row. And so the orange, instead of continuing along and then just changing into the next color, if I were working in the round. So that's a small price to pay for a beautiful pattern where you don't see that join, because I really, really hate seeing the join in the hat. So these are super cute, light and airy. Sometimes depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you can either do one that's just solid. See how you see that? This is a horrible pattern to work in, doing your steps like that up to the next row when you change rows. So I love the fact that you can't tell in this one, with this pattern. A little bit different on the bottom. This one's got ribbing, but this one didn't have ribbing. You could add ribbing if you wanted to. So, and this one was only about a half a skein. So if you do the way the pattern is written, which I will link below, obviously, if you do the pattern the way that it was explained to you, and you use a 5.5 millimeter hook with Facets yarn, and you have the same tension as me, you can get 2 hats out of 1 skein of yarn. So that was very successful, I believe. And so that's the end of my finished projects to share with you. So just a little tiny bit of chit chat. I don't know if you all remember, or maybe it's so obvious that I feel silly saying, do you remember? But I grew up watching my mom watching Johnny Carson at night, and there was always a part where he would pick up a picture and describe, maybe it was advertising that had a typo in it that made it funny, or something like that. That's kind of what I feel in this next part. I was on, I think it was Lion Brand's website, looking for patterns, and I saw this pattern, and we're all looking for something new, something different, keep it changed up and things like that. But this one, I think, I don't know, tell me what you think down in the comments below. This is the picture of the project, and this is the picture of what I thought it looked like. So, do you want to look like a rug? I don't know. If you've made this pattern before, let me know how it worked out for you. I don't mean to bust on people, but sometimes with a picture like that, you just can't help yourself. So then the next one that I wanted to share is when you're looking for a new pattern to work on, you want to see the project maybe in more than one view. So I thought it was rather frustrating, I guess, that, or short-sighted, if you want to call it. So here's a picture of a, what am I going to show next? Of this blanket. The model is sitting with a blanket, and I think it's a great blanket. I was working on my squares blanket, my keepsake blanket at the time. So I thought, oh, look at all that kind of different squares, and they're kind of put together. Let me see the blanket a little bit closer up. And so I changed the photo options, and all it is a change in the model. Like, she only changed her face, and you don't see the blanket any differently. That's not helpful. Thank you very much. And so you see it, and it's lovely. And so let me see if I can see it from a different viewpoint. And all it is a model with a different face. You see the hat and cowl in the same position that you saw before. That's not helpful. So this is a good example of the model is sitting there with a blanket on her lap, and it's a lovely blanket. And you're like, oh, let me see the blanket a little bit closer. Bing. This is what your next picture should be looking like. If you're going to put pictures up to help people see something, help them see it. I don't need to see the model smiling and not smiling, So I just thought that was kind of funny. And so I wanted to share with you an update on my use of my interesting purchase. I talked about being a center pull person, and I bought this so that I could pull from the outside of a skein, like instead of a hangy thing. But this, your skein has to be less than this size, which is not a lot of skeins out there that I'm using. Maybe if I were to wind a cake and put it on there, it would work. But this end piece was like inside of the skein that I was working with. And then you had to, I had to position it just right, because as I would pull it off of the skein, it would go down around to the end and then just be locked up and wound around the post that it was on. So it didn't really unwind from the skein nicely. It just pulled all to the end. So maybe this wasn't the best yarn to practice this with, or, you know, to try this out with. But in addition to that, the construction of this thing is just a joke. You've got the screws underneath to secure it. And then there's a screw that goes into the top, but this is a piece of felt softy thing that you had to, there's an adhesive underneath it so that you put it on there and hide the screw. But every time I pick it up, it just starts to turn again. So it's definitely not something that should be mobile. You know, it's cute for its little purpose, I guess, but it didn't work out as a yarn supply item. So that still maybe is on the list. And although I promised myself and all of you that I would not be buying any more yarn this year, that does not mean that I can't buy yarn supplies. I was asking my husband, what do you think? Can I still buy more pillows? You know, after the success of last week's pillow video, I thought, can I buy some more pillow inserts and just make some more pillows out of my yarn? And he goes, you're asking me about questions for your made up rules. What do you want me to say? So I decided that yes, although I have the no yarn purchasing rule, I can still buy some yarn supplies if it helps me use my stash. So executive decision, right? And then last but not least, again, I got to plug my little Etsy page. I don't know what I expected it to go like at all, but I've got it out there. I've got some things loaded up. I've got more and more to load up all the time. And so I do have my first sale. Yay! If you didn't know, I've put my things out on Etsy. So if you wouldn't mind going and taking a look and seeing if you like anything out there. If I've ever shown you anything that that is a finished project, and you liked it and you'd be interested in it, send me a message. Let me know. I've got a lot to put up there, and it's just a matter of time as I'm getting through it to put up. So maybe you don't want to wait to find the item that you were looking for. So just shoot me a little message. My email's amylovescrochet@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear from you. So otherwise, you can go to the Etsy page and I guess send me a message through there, you know, using one of the pictures that is there. I don't know how that works. I haven't jumped into that too much. I'm just getting started. So thank you so much, Susan, for your purchase, for making me an official Etsy seller. And I just really hope that we've got some success with this in the future here. So thank you so much for your time today, everybody. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I hope you'll come back and see me again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.